How do you get into content generation in the outdoor industries? Well, I've got two phenomenal experts right here on Gun Talk Hunt.
I'm KJ. You found the right place. We go all over this little blue orb, sharing stories and tactics about chasing wild game. Now, let's get on the hunt.
All right, Gun Talk Hunters, I'm your host, KJ, and today's episode is brought to you by Vortex, Savage Arms, Range Ready Studios, and Remington Ammo. We have a phenomenal show. We've got Jared Serigné all the way down in Louisiana from outside the Levees, and then all the way up into Minnesota. We've got Matt Addington with Matt Addington Photography. Go give each of these guys a look. I promise you're going to love what you see today. Let's bring them in right now. Let's start with content generation. We're going to teach you guys how to be better content generators and what to look for on your next outing. Let's start with Jared. Hey, welcome in, man.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. You have found an absolutely unique way. And if you guys haven't went and checked out his channel, YouTube channel, Instagram, Outside the Levees, phenomenal videos on day-to-day activities that he's just out there doing. Jared, how have you found to be how did you find this unique perspective?
So my background probably starts with web video, then goes to TV, and then goes back to web video. So when I came out, I was making videos about environmental issues in Louisiana. You know, we lose a football of wetlands every 45 minutes. So when I came out of college in 2007, that was kind of the avenue I took. And those videos were going straight to the web. And then the organizations I made the videos for would try to get them watched from there. That was a little bit before YouTube was really a thing and channels were a thing. So it was kind of, you were just using YouTube to boost the video, but then your website or email list or whatever would be what drove the traffic.
Yeah.
Then I grew that into it. Go ahead.
Oh, when you look at how you've created the video, and you were on the beginning cusp of creating content for guys like me, and really as far as like educational purposes, you've really blended that in well. What are the kind of the best practices that you look for when creating content?
So do you want me to finish the?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
All right. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, I went from web video and then into television, and that was really fun. I learned a lot there. I think that working with a really good host, I had a guy I worked with by the name of Greg Hackney, one of the top bass fishermen, and a really funny guy, really talented outdoorsman. I learned from him how to host. And then that came full circle back to YouTube. I would say I started noticing YouTubers be a thing around 2015, 2016. So I came on in 2020, which I guess, you could say I was a little bit late to the party, but I had a vision of what it needed to be. And I really let the audience guide that. So, and that continues today, right? Like I might have an idea of like, oh, I would like to watch a video about this particular style of duck hunting, but there's not a big enough audience for it on YouTube. There might be somewhere else, but if I'm solely focused on YouTube like I am now, I have to really take into account what that audience is telling me they want to see.
So, man, that's interesting. It's funny that you work with Hack. That dude is a phenomenal angler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
one of the best.
Even better person.
Right.
But it's just really interesting content as far as like how you're able to turn ordinary moments into you've got videos, millions of views. And what are some tips that you can give these guys out here on how you're capturing those little moments?
I would first learn storytelling so that as you're going, so like the way I approach a video is the same way I approach a hunting or fishing trip, but I know that I'm trying to hit certain story beats. So that might change a little bit of what I do. So I think that, if someone wanted to get into content creation, I would still first learn storytelling. I went to college for this. I have a degree in film. We learned how to tell a beginning, a middle, and an end. So I carried that right into what I do, and it's in every video. It may not come out the way I intended in every video, but the ability to say, okay, we're going to put this information together with a beginning, a middle, and an end. Audiences have let me know they like to learn. Like you said, they also want to be entertained. We were going to show them good food. So learn how to story tell first.
Jared, are there any, because we're in the midst of gator hunting right now and it's the gator season down here. Are there any little moments that really stand out to you and how you captured those, and maybe something that's just a little bit shocking this year?
So I still have to go back to like that process of me going from the cameraman to the YouTuber, right?
Right.
So when I was the cameraman, I would hold the camera and Greg would do the hunting, the fishing. So it was all happening on those two pieces of like, he's the guy who says the things, I'm the guy who videos the things. Now it's totally like, we've turned that on its head with YouTube. I'm wearing a camera. I've got a camera clip somewhere, but I'm also tugging on the alligator. I'm also making sure the ladies don't shoot a hole in the boat. So, everything is authentic. Everything, it's like, there's really not, I'll get a sound bite in every once in a while where I hold the camera and I talk and I'm like kind of bringing you back up to speed, but like we're literally recording it as it's happening through GoPros. So there's no set it up. There's no, cameraman it's happening. Like that's what it is,
I think you posted a little while back of, I think it, like a really big gator. What has been your biggest gator this season so far?
So this year I finally broke 12 foot, which it all depends on how many gator tags you fill every year, how many 12 footers you've got. But for us, it seems like the 10 footer is the trophy. The 11 is like the wow factor. But to get from 11 foot to 12, it takes that alligator a long time to get from 11 to 12. Like to get from 1-year-old to 10, it's not that long. Let's say maybe 20 years, 25 years. But to get from 10 to 11, that's another 10 to 15 years. And then to get from 11 to 12, you see what I'm saying? So now you're talking about a 40, 50-year-old alligator, which to me, in my hunts, a 12 has been fairly rare. So this year I finally got my 12s too. But I mean, it's nothing for some guys to find 13s, and 14s are really rare. But
yeah,
12, 13 down here will at least get people to stop and look, but a 10 footer is pretty common.
That's what gets them to stop and look. I was sitting there and I was bringing my gators into a guy that processed them for me. And I walked into his cooler and there was a monster, and it was 500. It ended up being 11 foot, 8 inch, 501 pounds. When you see it next to like a 7 foot, you think a 7 footer, oh, wow, that's a good, no, that it dwarfs it. It's incredible.
Yeah. Well, and then getting it in the boat. Like, so we don't have the setup that like a professional hunter had. They have like a winch and, a deal where you can spin it and get it. So we're like literally pulling these big gators in by hand. So that to me is that's the spectacle part, is when you're trying to like finally get the head and then roll the tail. And yeah, they're fun, man.
It's a process to work them out of there. Like, especially depends on where you catch them. Like, it depends on where you're like, how you get them into that boat. So what's your favorite bait to use? Because I got to know.
For alligators?
Yep.
I prefer beef melt. That is the spleen of a cow.
Okay.
That's been my favorite. I think so once again, I know folks who have to fill 1,600 tags a year. I'm filling 20. Oh. So for them, it's chicken, right? Like that's the easiest to get in bulk. It's easy to handle, all that kind of stuff. But I like the beef melt personally. That's my favorite.
See, that's what I found. I've tried the beef melt a couple of years ago. Worked phenomenal. So are there any like final like tips for listeners to like maybe on their hunts on how they're going to like capture their moments? Do you have anything like maybe observations? I love your idea of like telling a story. There has to be a starting point, a middle, and there's got to be an end. Anything developing wise that you would say for them to work with out in the field?
Look, I'll be honest. You have to make a decision. Do you want to hunt or do you want to make a hunting video? And those are two distinctly different things. And most people just want to hunt. and they might bring a GoPro along, and they might, but they don't want to make a hunting video because your decisions are going to be different. You're going to take the time to get it out or replace the battery or whatever it is before you take the shot. So I think that's something you ultimately have to ask yourself is, do I really want to make the video, or do I just think I want to make a video?
Man, you hit home really well for me, because I've never found myself being able to do both. I'm either hunting or I'm filming. Like, you can't do both. You can do both, but both are gonna lack. I feel like one's gonna take over.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Well, all right. Thanks, Jared. Hey, you guys, we're going to hear from him at the end of the show, but go check out Outside the Levees. Phenomenal channel, well put together, and it's daily life, it's food, it's culture, it's hunting, it's conservation, it's a little bit of everything. But right after this, we're going to jump back into content development for the outdoorsman right after this.
Need a laser rangefinder that doesn't guess? Get the Vortex Ranger HD 3000 with 3,000 yard ranging capability, a red display you can actually read in any light, and HCD mode for angle compensation distance. It's like having a spotter in your pocket. Hey, here's a pro tip for you. Before your hunt, you need to go out, you need to range landmarks like trees or rocks around your blind so you're not scrambling when that game shows up. Built rugged, backed by the Vortex VIP warranty, it's the Ranger HD 3000. Looking to trim a few LBs out of your pack or just your firearm? Check out the Savage 110 Carbon Predator. 2 swing swivel studs, matte black carbon steel receiver, 2-piece Weaver style bases, proof research barrel. Yeah, it's carbon wrap, so that's where some of the weight savings is going to come. And you won't be disappointed because they offer it in a lot of different variations. 6mm arc, 223 Remington, 22-250, a favorite of mine, 308, 65 Creedmoor, and 300 Blackout. Now, you're talking about weight. You're talking about, well, how much really is it going to weigh? Trust me, you're going to be able to carry this thing all day. It's under that 7-pound range, so I promise you it's accurate too. So trust Savage 110 Carbon Predator for all your weight savings. Looking to level up your hunt and tighten up those groups? Well, look no further than Remington Ammo. Yeah, the stuff in the green box is super accurate, and they've got everything from hunting ammo all the way to NRL like match ammo. So check those out. Remington Premier, from Premier Tip AccuTip to match grade ammunition, all in that green box you love, you trust, and you adore. Find it all at remington.com. Hey, get your heads up, right up here. Tactical treasure hunters, beware. Optics Planet just became your new favorite adult toy store for gear. Let's get that out of the way. Want scopes, red dots, night vision, and stuff totally you probably don't need but will absolutely buy anyway? Yeah, I thought so. Use promo code GUNTALK at checkout and get 5% off your order. That's right, 5%. Not 2, not 3, 5. Like the fingers you'll use to type that code in while pretending this wasn't my idea. So go to Optics Planet, check it out, enter code GUNTALK, and get your 5% off. Tired of your range time being just mag dumps and Instagram flexing? Enter Range Ready Training Wear Director of Awesomeness and everything else, Chris Serigné, turns keyboard warriors into actual warriors. Or something like that. Pretty dang close, I would say. Yeah, the guy's been there, done that. Pistol, check. Rifle, check. Yeah, we got it all. Force on force, we do that every now and then too. Bring your bruises, instructor development. Welcome to the Thunderdome of Learning. It's more than training, it's range ready, because real life doesn't come with a respawn button.
All right, we're back with Gun Talk Hunting. We're talking about like how to develop as either a filmmaker or a photographer, or just capturing those moments that mean a ton to you in the field. And we've got Matt Addington, phenomenal photographer, outdoorsman. Man, if you've been under a rock, I'm sorry, you've got to go check out his photography. Matt, welcome in, man.
Hey, appreciate you having me. It's good to chat with you again and meet these other guys and hear their stories as well.
Man, I'm telling you, when you start talking to guys like Jared who have found a way to turn passion and conservation and you're the same ilk, like you have turned your outdoor passions into a living. And I feel like you guys are some of a rare breed out there that understands like we're all living in this same world together, but man, why bust my tail at something I just really would rather not do and make a living at what I love to do? And you're one of
Yeah.
those guys, man.
No, I mean, I've been blessed to, yeah, I mean, just kind of do the things like you're saying that we love to do. And you happen to, bring a camera along enough and people buy into it. And you get asked a lot, like, how do you get into this? And, there's not a college degree or an online course that qualifies you to go do these things, but you just hang around, you develop relationships, you hone your skills. Hopefully you've got some level of a creative eye and stuff, but I know, Jared and Gary would say the same thing. It's just like, you get to know people and you try to tell good stories, visually. And it's been fortunate to work out.
Well, it definitely has worked out. Well, I mean, you've just spent what, a week or so up in Alaska, filming or shooting bears, not shooting bears, like photography bears.
Right.
What's that? What's that like? Because that's like on my list of like bucket list things to go and pursue. The Kodiak Browns are like the number one. That's the number one.
It's a different world. That's for sure. People have asked, what was it like? And one, weather-wise, it was kind of like you're living in a cloud the whole time. It's sort of, you're not worried about harsh light too often because it's kind of foggy and misty and drizzly a lot. But those bears are one of a kind, man. I've been around, grizzly bears and brown bears in Alaska several times, and they are a really cool critter. And to be close. The Katmai bears, those ones, Lake Clark, they're as remote as that is, they can still be pretty used to people being around.
Right.
Kodiak's the same. So to be, 2 arms lengths away from a 1,200-pound boar and just listening to him breathe and look at you and walk past you, it's pretty unnerving, but you sort of get, I don't know, it's a weird thing to say that you get used to it, but the ultimate apex predator is literally, 8 feet away from you is kind of a crazy deal.
I don't know. Like, I guess it would be kind of akin, like, I guess Alaska's grizzly bear is Louisiana's like 12-foot gator. Like, I mean, I feel like those two, like in their respective areas are like kind of at the top. But so you're doing a lot. You do photography with everything, and when you're looking for the shot, what are a few little tips for the listeners out there? And maybe this is after the shot. Maybe this is a trophy shot that you want to capture the moments. What tips do you have for these hunters out here?
It's interesting. When we first started talking about the questions and topics, I end up being in kind of a couple different scenarios. You obviously, and most of, the listeners and viewers have been in the classic grip and grin situation. We've got the trophy, caught the big fish, 12-foot gator, all of those things. And there's that element, which is honestly, I'm not going to say that's the easy element, but you're in control at that point, right? I mean, the hunt is finished. You've got the fish in the boat. You've winched 12 feet of 500 pounds of gator into your boat, which, that stuff is kind of, water under the bridge at that point. So much of what I do, you're not in control. You're not in control of the weather. You're not in control of the animals that are out in front of you. If I'm documenting a hunt, you don't want to compromise the hunt for the hunter. So you're there kind of as a documentary, filmmaker, photographer, just kind of taking in what's there. On my commercial side of things, you are a little bit more in control, but so much of what I do is outside in the elements. So you're constantly juggling all of these things. And I think that, bottom line, when I press the shutter, whether it be for photo or video, I'm just trying to think about, composition, what's happening out in front of me. And one thing that I do, regardless of whether it's grip and grin or commercial or just absolutely documentary, I'm always thinking about big wide stuff and then bits and pieces, and trying to find a balance of those two things.
Yeah.
Set the scene with, a great big huge establishing shot of some fashion where maybe you've got epic light and you've got all of these cool things happening around you, but then at the same time, punching in on some of the smallest of details that if you were on the other end of this, they're things that you remember. One example that I've shared before is on a Cape Buffalo hunt in Africa. I mean, you've got this amazing place, but I was taken by that, and I was shooting really, really wide at 15 millimeters. But then at the same time, I was on my knees, and the hunter was had his hand on the boss of this unbelievable animal, and it was to see the detail and the all of the textures and all of those things. I think equally as important, that helps to tell the story, and so those are things that I'm constantly ping-ponging back and forth and trying to assess, did I get both of those things and kind of helping tell the story.
Man, it's for me. Man, you and Jared are like lockstep. You guys are right here with me, because for me it's the littler moments for me that make the big story. And picking up little pieces of that, because when I was in Alaska on a uh, Kodiak blacktail hunt, it was the little tussocks and the journey out that made the journey, like the trek out with a blacktail, like worth it. Like, cause you when you look at a tussocks, like, and you get really up on it, like, they're actually quite beautiful, but they're a pain in the butt. Like, you don't realize how much of a pain they are. And then just like, on maybe a gator hunt or anything in the swamp, um, like, you have beautiful swamp areas and marshlands, and you've got this big wide stuff. But man, once you start getting down to the finite details, whether it's a lily pad on the water or something like that, like, then it starts to tell a bigger part of the story for me. And finding those small details within your hunt, I think is a bigger attractor to your content than the big wide stuff.
Yeah. And I think, the big wide stuff is kind of the eye candy things that catch your eye right away. If you would have done a photo expose of, your blacktail hunt, and you started off with the hero shot being a tight macro shot of a tussock, it wouldn't make much sense. But
Right.
much like we do with video and filmmaking, you need to establish a scene, establish a character. And sometimes those things have to happen big, but, punching in and bringing your viewer into detail and back out, I think that's, bringing their eye and their mind into some of those things is
Yeah.
really, is really key. And then, ultimately, like you were talking about the grip and grin shots. I mean, like I said, those are easy, but I also, I love the shots that are the kind of the candids that surround the grip and grin.
Yeah.
I don't get down on my knee and say, okay, hold it up and I'll snap it. I'm shooting I'll shoot the whole time, where you get that person
Yes.
maybe interacting with someone else that's off camera.
Mhm.
They're laughing, they're smiling, they're, shooting all of that stuff, I think kind of helps to tell the story as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, one of my favorite shots is exactly what you're talking about, especially with my boys, when you're shooting them and they've, that it's a natural smile, but they're looking at the animal. It's almost like almost a reverent kind of picture, as they're looking and they're processing, and those are the pictures that I love. I don't, I'm getting away from, like, holding this animal out and make him look as big as you can. Let's just don't do it for me anymore. It's a respect for the animal thing, and just a natural picture that does it for me. Yeah.
what their hands interacting, whether it be a whitetail rack or the fur of a critter, or the a turkey's tail feather, just seeing fingers and hands touching, and kind of like you're saying, in reverence to what just unfolded.
Yeah.
The other little tip that I've always tried to snag that I would give to someone in those moments is shoot some of the grip and grins when somebody else is taking the picture. Maybe, someone else is there and they got their cell phone out. The hunter is maybe looking at the camera, move off to the side and then shoot from a different angle where they're not looking at you and your camera.
Yeah.
Kind of an intimate, kind of candid, little bit of that reverence thing happening too.
Oh, I dig it. I love it. All right. Hey, we're going to call your shot. Let's call the final shots. We're going to bring both mics back up and bring Jared and Matt into the fold on this. Man, Jared, we're going to start with you, man. What are your final shots on the content generation side of things?
I like what came up in Matt's interview, the little things. And for me, it's not going to be necessarily, I focused something with the lens on something small visually. It's something in the trip or in the cooking part. Like a great example is like, let's say we do a video where I'm going to go catch blue crabs. But on the way to catch blue crabs, I stop at this little, hole in the wall joint to get the sandwich that everyone knows. Guess how many comments I'm going to get about the blue crabs versus the little sandwich? All going to the sandwich. Yep. So we learn a lot through those. I'm on YouTube, so you get comments on every video. So it always, even now, it still surprises me. Like, really? Like, I just showed you how to catch 144 blue crabs, and you worried about the sandwich? So I still focus on the bounty, on that. But like, they're picking those little, they love like when the ladies go on the trip. Well, it's like the lady gets all the comments, no matter like if I caught, got the big deer or whatever, the lady at the camp who, made the funny little, so the audience finds those little things that they pick out.
Yeah.
I always kind of say like there was a difference between Duck Commander and Duck Dynasty. And you want your videos to be more like Duck Dynasty. Right. Because it brought more than just duck hunting in. So I think it works the same in my world where, yes, the hunt is a great part of it. Yeah, it's probably why they clicked. But what got them to stay was those other little pieces, like the little things. What mayonnaise you used, what brand. Because people are apparently obsessed with brands of mayonnaise. But it's those little things that, like, I know this is, but those are the little things, that, at least in my world.
Are you Blue Plate or are you Miracle Whip? Or Hellman?
I don't endorse any of them unless they're sponsoring outside the Levees. They don't get any love, so it don't matter to me.
Whatever I got. That's
exactly. If they want to sponsor, we'll push it.
Matt, let's open it up to you, man. What are your final shots?
I think about kind of what Jared had talked about with his journey, and KJ, you're mentioning it too. Like, there's 3 levels of kind of what we do. I mean, you can be the hunter and that's what you're doing, man. Like, you're hunting and you're not going to try to do both. You can be the kind of the hybrid, maybe trying to do a little of both. Or you can be just completely content guy. And there's, they all, I enjoy all 3 of them, but I totally agree with Jared that to choose one or the other is probably going to put your best foot forward. And I think, if you are just the hunter, obviously, hunter or fisherman or whatever it is that you're pursuing, that's your goal. But I'd say, like, don't fail to pause once in a while and take it all in as though you were processing the content that was happening around you. Take a picture of that sunrise, take a picture of a tussock, shoot a quick video of the scene, just to have that, and then get back to what you're doing. And then obviously when you do kind of what we do, I like Jared is saying, I'll go on these assignments and, I want to see, and like I was on an elk hunt this last week in Montana, and the day started in the dark, and I was just super intrigued. Like, the camera rolled when that GMC diesel engine started and those headlights popped on. I was like, I told him, I said, you got to shut it off and do that again. That was a defining moment, like hearing that diesel and seeing those lights click on. And so trying to just tell all of the story of, we're just incredibly blessed to be able to spend time out in creation, doing what we do. And there's so much more than just the animal coming in or the catching or the shooting. Taking the time to just process all that, I think, is one of the things that I find, and the most, I'm most grateful for that I get to do.
Yeah, I love it. All right, I'm going to give you my final shots. Here it is. As hunters, we sometimes get locked into the hunt. It's the pursuit. It's the trophy. I want to get my hands on that. But there are so many more little moments that make up the hunt and make up your pursuit of that animal completely possible. And it doesn't stop there. It stops after your family is fed, after you get those horns back, and then the reflection on that for many years to come. So live in the little moments. I think that's what I took out of this conversation, is live in those little moments in between all the big moments. So that would be my final shot. Gun Talk Hunters, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.